Question 1. So which of these oceans has the greatest length of coastline? Well, the biggest number here is the 135,000 one, so the ocean is the Pacific. Okay, part B. Write this number 17968 in words. Well, that's 17,000. 17,000. 968. Okay, part C. Write the number 66,526 correct to the nearest thousand. So that's either going to be 66,000 or 67,000. Well, as it's over 66,500, it's nearer 67,000. Then part D, work out the total length of the coastlines of the Arctic and the Pacific. So the Arctic and the Pacific. So just get your calculator out and add those two together. So that's 45,389 added together with 135,663, and that gives us 181,052. 181,052. So, question 2, part A. Write down the order of rotational symmetry of a square. Now, rotational symmetry, the way to think of this is, if you imagine a square hole, and then a square that just fits into that hole. As you turn that square a full circle at 360 degrees, how many different ways could it fit into that square hole? Well, there would be 4 different ways. So that we say it has rotational symmetry of order of 4. Now for part B, measure the size of the angle. So obviously for this we're going to need a protractor. So get your protractor, set it up on where the two lines meet there. Now we're measuring from here. Okay, so we're going around here. So we're measuring for 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And I think that's about 64, 65 degrees. But I think what I would do, I would extend that line with a pencil to be absolutely sure. But to me, it looks about, sorry, I said I'm going to say 54, 55. So 50, I'm going to say 54 degrees. There's always a little bit of leeway in the mark scheme. Okay, so I think that was 54 degrees. Now for part 2, write down the mathematical name of this type of angle. Any small angle, any angle less than 90 degrees is an acute angle. Right, C part 1. Write down the mathematical name of this 3D shape. Well, it is a pyramid. Okay, it is a pyramid, and more precisely, it is a square-based pyramid. A square-based pyramid. Pyramid alone would have given you the mark. So square-based pyramid. Right, how many edges does this shape have? So edges is just like edges in real life. It's obviously got 4 edges along the bottom going around the square, and then you've got the 4 diagonal lines going up to meet at the top. So that's 4 plus 4, so it's got 8 edges in total. Question 3. So we've got a pictogram here showing the number of parcels delivered by a delivery company on each of 5 days in a week. On Monday, the delivery company delivered 20 parcels. Work out the total number of parcels. Okay, so Monday is 20 parcels. So we know Monday has got to be 20. Now, how many small squares have we got? 4 plus 4 plus 2, that's 10. So 10 small squares represent the 20 parcels. So each single one must be 2. Okay, just put in all the 2s there. We can then double check. Okay, so each of those must represent 2. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Right, so count up the small squares and then double it to get the number of parcels. So here we've got 4, 8, 12, 16 small squares. Double that is 32. Here we've got 4, 5, 6 squares. Double it to get 12. Put 3, double it to get 6. Here we've got 4, 8, 12, 13. Double 13, we get 26. So we just need to add all of those up. So 20, add 32, add 12, add 6, add 26, and that's 96 parcels in total. So 96. So question 4, part A, write down the coordinates of the point B. Well, here's B. So remember, you go left or right first of all. That's your x coordinate. So it's -2 and then up 3. So -2, 3. So always along the corridor, left or right, and then secondly, up or down the stairs. Now for part B, write down the mathematical name of the triangle ABC. Well, it's got two sides which are the same length. The two base angles are the same. That is an isosceles triangle. Isosceles triangle. Okay, the coordinates of point D are 1, -4. Okay, so 1, -4. Mark this with the X on the grid. So 1 -4, that's 1 to the right and 4 down. So that's taking us to there. So that's where D is. Now for part D, find the coordinates of the midpoints of AB. So halfway along the line from A to B. So going from A to B, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the left and 2 up. Well, if we halve that, that's going to be 3 to the left and 1 up. So that point there is the midpoint of AB. What coordinate is that? That is the coordinate 1, 2. Question 5, shade 3/5 of the shape. Well, we've got 5 columns, so if we shade 3 out of 5 of the columns, that's going to be 3/5. So basically you just need to shade any 12 squares would suffice. Now for part B, which of these fractions is not equivalent to 4/7? Well, that is because we're just timesing top and bottom by 10. That is because we're just doubling top and bottom. That is we're timesing top and bottom by 100. And that is because we're timesing top and bottom by 5. So the one which is not equivalent is 14/17. Just by adding something to the top and the bottom, it is no longer an equivalent fraction. An equivalent fraction is a fraction you get to by multiplying the top and the bottom by the same number. Right, part C, write 3 out of 10 as a percentage. Well, percentage means out of 100. So 3 out of 10 is the same as what out of 100? Well, we're just timesing top and bottom by 10, so it's the same as 30 out of 100. If you're not confident with that, just put 3/10 as a fraction into your calculator, multiply that by 100, that will also give you 30. Now for part D, write 77/9 as a mixed number. So how many wholes can we get? So we need 9 parts to make a whole, so we really need to go up in our 9 times table. Now 9 eighths are 72. So 8 wholes is going to use 72 up, leaving 5 left over. So it's 8 and 5/9. Now for part E, what is 5/6 of a number is 40. What is the original number? So be careful here. This is not asking us to work out 5/6 of 40. If we had been asked to do 5/6 of 40, we would just do 5/6 times 40. This is the other way around. We're trying to find the original number. So we've now got to just reverse it and do 6/5 times 40. Put that into your calculator, okay, and you get 48. Question 6. So we've been asked to work out how much more the phone is in the UK. Now it hasn't specified whether we're working in pounds or rupees, so we've got the choice. I'm going to choose to work in pounds. So in the UK, we know the phone costs £350. Now in India, it costs 28938 rupees. Okay, now how are we going to convert this into pounds? Well, we're told the exchange rate is £1 for 91 rupees. So you've just got to be careful here. Are we going to multiply by 91 or divide by 91? Well, we're going from rupees, the right, to pounds on the left. We need to get a smaller number. So we're going to be dividing that by 91 to convert it into pounds. So on your calculator, do 28938 divided by 91, and that gives us £318. Now the question asks us how much more expensive is it in the UK, so we've got to do 350 take away 318 to give us 32. Now you must make it clear that that's pounds and not rupees, otherwise you would have dropped a mark. As I said before, you could equally have worked in rupees and just said how many more rupees it would have been, which is going to be whatever 32 times 91 is. Question 7. So, list all the possible combinations that Hassan can choose, where he's choosing one starter and one main course. Now, they're encouraging you just to use the letters here, so don't feel that you've got to write out fruit burger, fruit curry, and what have you, which will take forever. So I would suggest you start with each starter, and in turn list that with each of the main courses. So I'm going to go fruit burger, then fruit curry, then fruit lasagna, then fruit risotto. You've got these various lines, you might as well use them. I'm then going to go prawn burger, prawn curry, prawn lasagna, prawn risotto, and then finally soup burger, soup curry, soup lasagna, and soup risotto. Easy. Question 8. So W times W times W times W times W. There's 5 of them there. That's W to the power of 5. Don't confuse it with W add W, add W, add W, add W, which would be 5W. Now for part B, 5A means 5 times A, 3C means 3 times C. So we've got 5 times A times 3 times C. You can move those all around, so you can think of it as 5 times 3, which is 15. And that's then multiplied by A and C, so 15AC. Now for part C, be careful to incorporate the signs. So it's 3E take away E, which is 2E, and 2F add 5F, which is 7F. Now part D, we've got to solve this equation, so we need to get all the x's onto one side, all the normal numbers onto the other. Now, because there's a bigger number of x's on the left to start with, I'm going to take the x's over to the left. So I'm going to take away x from both sides. So at that point, having taken away an x from the left, I've got 4x minus 7. And on the right, I've got 12 because I've taken away the x. So I've got all my x's onto the left. Now I get all my normal numbers onto the right. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides, giving me 4x equaling 19. Now that's what 4x is, 4 times x. How do I undo a timesing by 4? I divide by 4. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Now it's perfectly satisfactory just to leave your number as an improper top-heavy fraction. 19 over 4 will give you full marks. If you like, you can go and convert that into a mixed number. So what would that be? That would be 4 4s is 16 and 3 bits left over, or if you like 4.75. But as I said, none of those are necessary. 19 over 4 will give you full marks. Question 9. So the table shows information about the number of pieces of homework each student in year 11 received last week. So make sure you get behind the table. What we're saying here is 4 students received 3 pieces of homework. 8 students received 4 pieces of homework, and so on. So work out the range of numbers of pieces of homework. So what was the most homework someone got? What was the least homework someone got? And it's the difference between the two. So the most homework that someone got was 7. 4 people got that. 4 people only got 3. So the range is the difference between those. So 7 take away 3, which is 4. Now write down the mode of the number of pieces of homework. So what happened most often? What was the number of homeworks that most students got? Well, the 12 is the biggest number of students. How many homeworks did they get? They got 6 homeworks. Now the mean, there's quite a bit of work to do here. We need to work out the total number of homeworks set and divide that by the number of pupils. So 4 students received 3 homeworks. So 4 times 3 is 12. That's 12 homeworks. 8 students got 4 homeworks. 8 times 4 is 32, and so on. 10 times 5 is 50. 12 times 6 is 72. 4 times 7 is 28. So if we add up all those black numbers there in that column, that will give us the total number of homeworks that were set over the week. So 12, add 32, add 50, add 72, add 28. That is 194 homeworks. So take your 194 homeworks and divide that by the number of pupils. All right, divide that by the number of pupils. Now, it doesn't tell us in the sentence how many pupils there were, so we need to work that out by adding up the frequency column, which is the number of pupils. Okay, so we need to do 4, add 8, add 10, add 12, add 4. So 4 add 8 is 12, 22, 32, 33, 34. That's 38 students. 194 divided by 38 is 5.105. 5.105. And the numbers continue. Read the question, give your answer to 1 decimal place. So that's 5.1. So question 10, we've got to draw accurately this triangle. So they've given us the AB being 7 centimeters. Now we're told that angle ABC is 65. So that's the angle you get as you go from A to B to C. From A to B to C. So we need to draw a 65-degree angle coming off from B. So get your protractor lined up on B and go and do a little mark at 65 degrees. So that is there. There is my 65 degrees. Okay, so I know that my C is somewhere along that line. Okay, so get out a ruler then. Okay, I'm just going to do this lightly. So imagine this is a ruler. Go from here and go through that point. You then need to get your ruler out because we're told that B to C is 6.2 centimeters. So obviously this on a screen isn't to scale. That's not going to be 7 centimeters as you look at it. So what you've got to do is just imagine me now measuring 6.2 centimeters along here. So let's imagine that is to there. So let's imagine that I've gone and measured B to C being 6.2. Okay, so you need to have measured with a ruler that length there is 6.2 centimeters. And then given that is the case, finally, you would just put in the third side of the triangle. You'll go from A to C. Okay, and at that point, just rub out that bit there because that was part of your workings. Question 11. We've got to work out the area of a circle. Now, you need to have learnt the circle formulae. So I teach it as cottage pies delicious, apple pies are 2. So the first formula is for the circumference. If you're working out the length all the way around the outside of a circle, the circumference, it would be pi times the diameter. If you're working out the area, obviously the space inside the circle is pi times the radius squared. Now for this question, we're being asked to work out the area, so that circumference formula is not relevant. So the area is pi times the radius squared, so times 7.5 squared. So get your calculator out, find pi, which is normally shift the bottom middle key. So pi times 7.5 squared, or times 7.5 times 7.5, doesn't matter which. You get 225 over 4 pi. Press the SD button, we get 176.71. And more numbers follow after that. Now we're being asked to give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. Now be careful, that is not 3 decimal places. That is not 3 numbers after the decimal point. It is just 3 numbers in total. So the 1, the 7, and possibly the 6, or do we round it up? Yes, we do round it up because the next one is 5 or above. So our final answer is going to be 177. So, question 12. The formula can be used to work out the cost of hiring a bike. The cost is 65 times the number of days, add 45, and we hired the bike for 14 days. So part A is quite straightforward. So it's 65 times the number of days, which is 14. So we're going to work that out. Once we've worked that out, we're then going to add 44 to it. So 65 times 14, which is 910, add 44. That gives us 954 riles. 954. Now, part B is more tricky. We're now adding on the fact that we want to hire a helmet for the same number of days. And we're going to trying to hire it for many days as we can. So, a couple of ways of doing this. I think the easiest one is to say, look, we've got 750 to spend. Now, given we're going to be hiring a bike, we're going to have to start off by paying 44 rials regardless of how many days. So take off that 44 first because you're going to have to pay that. That's not dependent on the number of days. So 750 take away 44 is 706. So that's how much we've got to spend after we've taken out that 44. Now, how much extra cost do we have per day? Well, we've got 65 each day for the bike, and it's 12.5 each day for the helmet. So if we add those together, if we do 65 add 12.5, okay, so 65 add 12.5, we can see that it's going to cost us 77.5 a day. So how many days can we hire the bike for? It's going to be 706 divided by the 77.5, okay? So 706 divided by the 77.5 gives us 9.1 days. So obviously you can't hire it for part of a day, so we're actually going to hire it for 9 days. So it's going to be 9 lots of 77.5. So 9 times 77.5. So 9 times 77.5, 9 times 77.5, that's going to use up 697.5. 697.5. So how much money are we going to have left over? Well, you do 706, take away 697.5, and the amount of money left over is going to be 8.5. 8.5 rials. Question 13. So, there are some counters in the bag. 7 blue, 5 green, rest are yellow. Alright, so we've got 7 blue, 5 green, and the rest are yellow. Okay, fine. Now, we're being told the probability of picking blue or green is 6 out of 13. So the probability of picking blue or green is 6 out of a total of 13. Okay, so obviously probability-wise, if the probability of getting a blue or a green is 6 out of 13, then yellow must be 7 out of 13. So they're the probabilities, but in reality, we've got 12 blue and greens. So how proportionally, how can we get from the probability to the actual number of counters? Well, how do we get from 6 to 12? Well, we're doubling it. So we have to double the 7 yellows as well, giving us 14. And that's going to give us 26 counters in total. Okay, so just to recap on that, we've got 7 blue, 5 green, which is 12. 12 out of a total of 26 is the same ratio as the probability of 6 over 13. So to answer the question, work out how many yellow balls there are in the bag. There are 14 yellow balls. Question 14. So to work out 39% of 450, just literally do 39 out of 100, which is 39%, and multiply it by 450. Okay, so 39 divided by 100 equals 0.39. Multiply that by 450, and we get 351 over 2. Press the SD button, we get 175.5. 175.5. Now for part B, write one pair of brackets in this calculation so that the answer is correct. So we're just thinking about bid mass here. So if we put the brackets around the 8 and the 5 like that, okay, so we now do the brackets first with bid mass. The B stands for brackets. 8 take away 5 is 3, then 3 9s are 27, 27 take away 2 is indeed 25. Now for part C, just use your calculator. I would strongly recommend that you use that fractions button, the third one down on the left hand side normally, where we've got the white rectangle divided by the black rectangle. So press that, it starts flashing on the top bit, put in your square root of 8.9 there, then using the arrow keys go down to in the bottom half of the fraction, pop in your 6.2, take away 3.5, press equals, and we get root weight 90 over 27. Press the SD button and we get 1.1 049 21029. Let me just check I've written that down correctly. 1.104921029. The question asked says write down all the figures on your calculator display, so make sure that you do indeed do so. So question 15. Write 600 as product of powers of its prime factors. Okay, so this is the number tree. So start off with your 600 and break it down any way you like. The two whole numbers multiplied together give you 600. I'm going to go 60 and 10. And neither of those are prime numbers, so we keep on going. 60 we can break down to being 6 times 10. And the 6 we can break down to being 2 and 3. Now 2 and 3 are prime numbers. We can't break those down anymore, so pop a circle around those. Go back and finish off for the 10, which is a 2 and a 5. And go back and finish for that 10, another 2 and a 5. So if the question just asked for product of prime factors on its own, I would write down 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 5. Okay, I'll just put them in numerical order, and don't forget to put in the multiplication signs. Now, as it says, write 600 as a product of powers of its prime factors, you do need to go and pop these in terms of powers. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 2 cubed. Then we've just got the 1, 3, and the 5 times 5 is 5 squared. Okay, so if the question asked just for product of its prime factors, 222355 would be correct. When it says product of powers of its prime factors, 2 cubed, 3 and 5 squared is correct. Either way, don't forget to put in the multiplication sign. If you just put in commas, you would lose a mark. Question 16. So, whilst on the one hand it seems quite nice to tell you what the answer is, you do have to be very precise to show that you've explained exactly why that's happened, and you haven't relied on the answer. So be very careful with these proof questions. I suggest you just make it clear that you're just going to be manipulating the left-hand side. So I write down LHS. So I'm just going to work on the left-hand side and make it very clear step by step how I get to the 2 2/7 on the right-hand side. So first things first, make them in proper fractions. So 2/7 are 14, 14 add 4 is 18. So that's 18 over 7. To be divided by 1 1/8. 1/8 is 8, 8 and 1 is 9, that's 9 over 8. Now, how do we divide fractions? We keep the first one the same, change it to being a multiplication, and flip the second fraction over. Now, you could at this point cancel down. You could see that the 18 and the 9 are both divisible by 9, but let's assume we don't do that. Let's just do old school. How do you multiply fractions? Just top times top and bottom times bottom. Well, 18 times 8 is 144, and 7 times 9 is 63. Now, cancelling that down, dividing top and bottom by 9, I get 16 over 7, and that indeed equals 2 2/7. So you really do need to show all of those steps to make sure you gain the full 3 marks. Question 17. Now for these bearings questions, you really do need to have a sketch. So we're told the bearing of Paris from London is 149 degrees. So we're going from London. So pop in London, put in your north. Bearings always measure for north. And just estimate roughly where 149 degrees would be. It's about there, isn't it? And then go and put Paris in down here. So the question has told us the bearing of Paris from London is 149 degrees. And we're being asked for the bearing of London from Paris. Now, they're always measured from north, they're always clockwise. So we want this angle all the way around here. Now, there's a number of ways to do this. One of these is using the F angle rule, the corresponding angle rule. So if you just sort of visualize this F shape. Okay, so this angle here is the same as this angle here. Do you know the F shape? We're really saying if these are parallel, that angle there is the same as that angle there. So we know that the angle around there to there is also 149 degrees. But we want the angle all the way around to there, so that's another 180 degrees further around. So our answer is going to be whatever 149 add 180 is, and that's 329 degrees. Question 18. So we've been told the letters that are in Brazil, the letters that are in Ireland, and for A part 1 we're being asked to work out B union I. That means which letters are in B or I or both. So let's start off with all the ones that are in Brazil. So B, R, A, Z, I, and L, and then also in Ireland. But don't double count the letters. You're going to lose marks if you lose the mark if you write down Brazil, Ireland. So we've already done the I. We've already done the R, so we need to add the E. We've already done the L and the A, so we just need to add the N and the D. So just double check that no letters are doubling up. B, R, A, Z, I, L, E, and D. So we've incorporated all the letters that are either in B or in I or in both, but we haven't double counted any. Now for part 2, intersection means and also. And. So we want all those that are both in B, but also not in I. That I dash means not in I. So which letters are both in the word Brazil, but not in the word Ireland? So B's fine, because B's in Brazil, but not in Ireland. The R isn't, because that's in both. The A isn't. The Z is, because that's in Brazil and also not in Ireland. The I isn't and the L isn't. So it's just B and Z, I think. Let me just double check. The letters that are in Brazil and not in Ireland. So that's the B, the Z, and that's it. Right, now for part B, We've got Kenya being Kenya. Cody writes down the statement B intersection K equals that circular shape with a line through it. Cody's statement is wrong. Explain why. Now, basically, what Cody's saying is that there is nothing that is both in the word Brazil and in the word Kenya. Well, that's just not true because A is in Brazil and in Kenya. Okay, explain why. So we can say Cody is wrong because the letter A is in both B and K. Question 19. So work out the size of angle JGH. So first things first, make sure you know where that is. They've given you a clue here because they've put that in there. So that's the angle we're working towards, which I'm going to call X. Now, number of ways to do this, but what we must make sure we do is give a reason for each stage of our workings. Now, the fact that we've got this this here is telling us that the triangle EBC but also EGH are isosceles triangles. So these two base angles here must be the same. So the first thing I'm going to do is work out this angle over here. Now that is angle going from B to G to H. So I'm going to say angle BGH equals, now I'm going to work out what it is. So what we're saying is angles in a triangle add up to 180. So if I do 180 take away 44, I am left with 136. Now this 136 is then spread equally between these two angles here. So if I divide that 136 by 2, I get 68 degrees. So angle BGH is 68 degrees. And the reason, and write the reasons as you go, is because base angles of isosceles triangle are equal. Now, once you've done that, you're almost there. So the angle that we want to work out, this angle J to G to H, well, angles on a straight line add up to 180. So angle, let's change color for this one. Angle J to G to H equals 180 take away 68. So 180 take away 68 equals 112 degrees. And the reason is because angles on a straight line total 180. On a straight line total 180 degrees. So our final answer is 112 degrees. Question 20. Now there are a lot of words to wade through here. Okay, in short, Mariana sold 12 kilograms of seeds last week. We're going to have to work out how many seeds she sells next week. We're told that the number that she sells next week is going to be less. And we're being asked to work out the decrease as a percentage of seeds sold last week. So first things first, which will pick up a couple of marks, let's work out how many seeds she's going to sell next week. Now we're told that the total weight of nuts and seeds in the bag will be 19.35, and that's in the ratio of nuts to seeds of 4 to 5. So we need to break down that 19.35, splitting it between nuts and seeds. We want the seeds component. So how many shares are there in total? Well, 4 plus 5 is 9 shares. So breaking it down per share, 19.35, if we divide that by 9, we see that each share is 2.15 kilograms. Now we want to know how much that's each share. We want to know how many seeds she sells. That's 5 of the shares. So we're going to do 5 times 2.15, telling us that next week we're going to use 10.75 seeds next week. Now, last week we used 12 kilograms of seeds. Next week we're going to use 10.75. So what's the decrease? The amount that it's gone down is 12 take away 10.75. So the decrease is 1.25 kilograms. So that's the actual amount that it's gone down, but what is the percentage decrease compared to last week? So we take the actual decrease, which is 1.25, divide that by the number of seeds sold last week, and to turn that into a percentage, we multiply that by 100. So you do 1.25 over 12, multiply that by 100, and you get 10.416 recurring. Answering the question, give your answer to one decimal place, that is 10.4%. Question 21. So, work out the value of x. So you really just need to go through a routine on these questions. That side is the hypotenuse, it's opposite the right angle. Now that you picture yourself sitting over here on the angle, so that side is opposite to you, this would be the adjacent side. So you then need to decide which of the three ratios you're going to use. So you need to have learnt that sin is opposite of hypotenuse, cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tan is opposite over adjacent. The acronym I suggest is Silly Old Hitler Caused Awful Havoc to Our Armies. Anyway, however you've learnt it, because this question comprises O and H, this is a sin question. So sin, then the angle, which is 42, equals our opposite side of 6.5 divided by our adjacent side of x. And it has to be that way round. Make sure you've got the opposite on top, the hypotenuse on the bottom. Now, we need 2 steps of algebra here to make x the subject. This is one of the trickier ones when x is not on top, it's on the bottom. So first of all, multiply both sides by x. So you're then going to have x sin 42, and then divide by the sin 42. So x is actually going to equal 6.5 divided by sin 42. So just go through that algebra again. Okay, we've multiplied both sides by x, then divided by sin 42. So get your calculator out and do 6.5 divided by sin 42, and you get 9.714. Read the question one decimal place, that is 9.7. Question 22. Now, in order to answer this, we're going to have to eliminate either A or C. So we're going to need to have the same number of A's or C's. Now, we could line up the A's by doing a couple of multiplications, but far simpler is to eliminate the C's, and I'll show you how. So call that equation 1, and we'll call that equation 2. Now, if we go and take equation 1 and double everything, what do we get? So we're going to double the 5A, double the 2C, double the 10. We're going to get 10A plus 4C equals 20. Now, if we now go and bring the second equation below it, so 2A minus 4C equals 7. Now, we're going to be able to eliminate those C's because they've now got the same numerical value of 4. However, because the signs are different, plus 4C and minus 4C, we're going to have to choose to add the two equations together. Because 10A plus 2A is 12A. 4C added together with minus 4C is 4C take away 4C, which is nothing, which is what we want. 20 add 7 is 27. So 12A equals 27. So A equals 27 divided by 12. Just pop that into your calculator. 27 divided by 12, we get 2.25. So A is 2.25. Now, to work out C, we're going to substitute what we now know A to be back into one of the original equations. Now, I'm going to take the top equation, 5A plus 2C equals 10. And as I said, we've just worked out that A is 2.25. So 5 times 8, 5 times 2.25, added together with 2c equals 10. Now 5 lots of 2.25 is 11.25. So 11.25 add 2c equals 10. Taking away 11.25 from both sides, we get 2c equaling minus 1.25. If you then go and divide both sides by 2, so you halve this, minus 1.25, minus 1.25 divided by 2 is minus 0.625. So c equals minus 0.625. Question 23. So to factorise a quadratic like this, we're going to end up with a pair of brackets. And because we've got an x squared here, we're going to have an x and an x, because x times x equals x squared. Now, we need to work out what these two numbers are going to be. Now, these two numbers multiply to be the term on the end, which is minus 24. But at the same time, these two numbers have to add to be the coefficient of x, the number in front of the x, which is plus 2. So what two numbers, on the one hand, multiply to be minus 24, on the other hand, add to be 2? Now that is 6 and minus 4. 6 times minus 4 is minus 24. 6 take away 4 is plus 2. So our final answer is x plus 6, x minus 4. Or indeed, you could have written x minus 4, x plus 6. But you must have a plus 6 and a minus 4, not a minus 6 and a plus 4. Now for part 2, we've just turned it from an expression into an equation. So if this equals 0, if we're saying x plus 6, x minus 4 has to equal 0, when you multiply two things together and to end up having 0 as a product, either of the brackets in turn has to be 0. So what value of x would make this opening bracket 0? That would be x being minus 6. Okay, because minus 6 adds 6 is nothing. Nothing times whatever is nothing. Or, alternatively, what value of x would make the second bracket 0? That's when x is plus 4. All right, so our second solution is x being plus 4. Question 24. Now, to work out the volume of a prism, you've got to work out the area of the cross-section. That's the area of the end bit, so that's the area of this triangle here. And once we've done that, you multiply this by the depth of the prism, 15, to get your final answer. So we need to work out, step 1, the area of that triangle. Now, how do you work out the area of a triangle? It's half times base times height, but that height is the height straight up. We need this height here, not the diagonal 11.2. So how are we going to work out this height, which I'm going to call x? Well, we can use Pythagoras. Okay, we know that diagonal height is 11.2, the base is 7.4, we need to work out x. Now we're working out one of the two shorter sides, so it's a taking away Pythagoras. So x squared equals 11.2 squared, take away 7.4 squared. So popping that into your calculator, 11.2 squared take away 7.4 squared equals 1767 over 25, which is 70.68. That's what x squared is. So x is going to be the square root of 70.68, okay, which is square root answer. I get 8.4071. 8.4071. Now I'm going to leave that in my calculator so I get a very accurate answer. So my final answer for the area of the triangle is going to be half times the base, which is 7.4, times the height that I've just worked out, which is 8.4071, dot. And I'm going to take this and multiply that by the 15. So I've still got my 8.4071 in my calculator. I'm going to multiply that by 7.4 and 15.5. So 8.4071 that's still in my calculator times 0.5 times 7.4, giving me the area of the triangle, and timesing 15, I get 466.596. So to three significant figures, remember that means 3 digits in total, that's going to be 467 centimeters cubed. Question 25. So, sold a house for 150,000 yuan, and this is 24% more than the amount originally paid for the house. So, what is our multiplier going to be when things increase by 24%? It's going to be 1.24. Now, we're going backwards here, all right? We know the final price, which is 180,000, and we need to go back to the original price. We're going right to left. So this is going to be 180,000 divided by 1.24. Divided by 1.24, which is 145,161. So that's 145,161, but to three significant figures, that's 145,000 pounds, 1,000 yuan. Now for part B, bought the house 1st of January for 120, increased by 1.8 each year. What's its value on the 1st of January 2020? So how many years is that? 1 year to 18, 19, 20. That's 3 years. Now we're going left to right now. So this is a multiplication question. So we're going to start off with the 120,000. Now our multiplier for a 1.8% per year increase is going to be 1.018. That is our multiplier to increase things by 1.8%. Now this is for 3 years, so do this to the power of 3. So simply put into your calculator 120,000 multiplied by 1.018 to the power of 3, and we get 125,000. Let's just see my calculator. 126,597. 126,597. So to three sig figs, that's going to be 127,000 yuan.